Have you ever wondered why nearly every ancient civilization has stories about giants? From Goliath in the Bible, to the terrifying Oni of Japanese folklore, to the controversial legend of the Kandahar giant that captured public attention in the early 21st century. Stories of colossal human-like beings appear across cultures separated by vast distances and thousands of years. These legends survived the rise and fall of empires. They endured through wars, migrations, and changing religions. For thousands of years, giant beings have occupied humanity's collective imagination. But among all giant myths ever told, one stands above the rest. A race of one-eyed giants that supposedly inhabited the islands of ancient Greece. The legendary Cyclops. For centuries, people believed these terrifying creatures truly existed. And surprisingly, there was physical evidence that appeared to prove it. The word Cyclops comes from the ancient Greek term Cyclopes, which literally means round eye or circle eye. However, what many people do not realize is that ancient Greek literature presents two very different versions of these creatures. The first appears in Hesiod's work, Theogony. In this account, the Cyclopes were not monsters at all. They were divine craftsmen, master blacksmiths trusted by the gods themselves. According to Greek mythology, these Cyclopes worked deep beneath the earth, forging legendary weapons of immense power. Most famously, they created Zeus's thunderbolt, the weapon that allowed him to defeat the Titans and establish his rule over the cosmos. These Cyclopes were respected, powerful, and sacred. But another ancient author would transform them into something far more terrifying. That author was Homer. In his epic masterpiece, the Odyssey, the Cyclopes became savage giants. They were depicted as lawless creatures, cannibals, beings who lived in isolation among rocky mountains and dark caves. The most famous Cyclops of all was a giant named Polyphemus. According to the story, Odysseus and his men were sailing home after the Trojan War when a violent storm pushed them toward an unfamiliar island. Searching for food and supplies, Odysseus selected 12 of his best warriors and entered a massive cave. Inside, they discovered shelves filled with cheese, containers of milk, and healthy livestock. The sensible choice would have been to take what they needed and leave immediately. But curiosity prevailed. They stayed and waited for the cave's owner to return. It was a decision they would soon regret. As night fell, the owner returned. Polyphemus, a giant unlike anything they had ever seen. The Cyclops sealed the cave entrance with an enormous boulder that no human could possibly move. Then, ignoring the sacred Greek tradition of hospitality, he grabbed 2 of Odysseus's men. He smashed them against the ground and devoured them alive. Over the following days, more men were eaten, until Odysseus devised a desperate plan. He offered the giant strong wine. When Polyphemus finally collapsed into a drunken sleep, Odysseus and his surviving companions sharpened a wooden stake and drove it directly into the giant's single eye. Blinded and enraged, Polyphemus searched desperately for his attackers. But Odysseus escaped by hiding beneath the bellies of the giant's sheep as they left the cave. The story became one of the most famous monster tales in human history. And for centuries, people believed it reflected reality. The belief became so widespread that it survived long after the fall of ancient Greece. Off the coast of Sicily, Unusual rock formations were interpreted as giant stones thrown by the blinded Polyphemus as Odysseus escaped. During the Renaissance, belief in Cyclopes remained remarkably strong. In the year 1587, the Italian cartographer Urbano Monte even included Cyclops figures on his world map. To many people, the existence of Cyclopes was not mythology. It was history. And this belief was reinforced by something even more convincing: physical evidence. Between the 14th and 18th centuries, residents of Sicily repeatedly reported discovering enormous bones inside caves. One famous discovery occurred in 1342 near Mount Eris. Villagers uncovered gigantic skeletal remains hidden underground. The discovery caused fear throughout the region. People armed themselves. Many believed they had found the remains of Polyphemus himself. Several historians documented similar discoveries over the centuries. When reconstructed, these skeletons appeared astonishingly large. To the people of the time, they looked like the remains of giant humans. As more bones were discovered, local myths evolved. Some even claimed that the original inhabitants of Sicily descended from an ancient race of giants that had lived before the biblical flood. To many observers, the evidence seemed undeniable. The Cyclops had existed, or so they thought. Then came a period that would fundamentally change humanity's understanding of the world: the Age of Enlightenment. During the 18th and 19th centuries, scientific thinking began replacing superstition as the primary method of explaining unusual discoveries. Rather than asking what myths explain the bones, researchers began asking what animals they actually belonged to. This shift would eventually solve one of history's greatest mythological mysteries. And the answer was completely unexpected. Millions of years ago, Sicily was very different from the island we know today. During periods when sea levels were lower, natural land bridges connected Sicily to mainland Europe. Large animals migrated freely across these connections. Among them were ancient elephants. When sea levels rose again, these elephant populations became isolated on the island. And isolation triggered a remarkable evolutionary process known as island dwarfism. Island dwarfism occurs when large animals become progressively smaller over many generations due to limited resources and reduced environmental pressures. Over thousands of years, Sicily's elephants shrank dramatically in size. One species, known as Elephas falconeri, eventually stood only about 1 meter tall, roughly the height of a modern child. These dwarf elephants inhabited Sicily for hundreds of thousands of years before eventually becoming extinct. Yet despite their reduced size, they retained one feature that would later change mythology forever: their skulls. Around 11,000 years ago, modern humans arrived in Sicily. As they explored the island, they entered caves that had once been inhabited by these extinct elephants. Inside those caves, they discovered fossilized bones and skulls. And this is where one of the greatest misunderstandings in human history may have occurred. The people of ancient Greece had never seen an elephant. They had no understanding of elephant anatomy. When they encountered these enormous skulls, they interpreted them using the only reference point they possessed: the human body. If you closely examine an elephant's skull, one feature immediately stands out: a large opening in the center of the forehead. Today, we know this opening served as the attachment point for the elephant's trunk and nasal structures. But to ancient people unfamiliar with elephants, the opening appeared to be something entirely different. A giant eye socket. Meanwhile, the elephant's actual eye sockets are located farther to the sides of the skull and are significantly less obvious. As a result, ancient observers may have concluded that they were looking at the skull of a gigantic one-eyed humanoid, a Cyclops. Over generations, the story spread. Each retelling added new details, new fears, new imagination. The misunderstood fossil slowly transformed into one of the most famous monsters ever created. A giant cannibal, a cave-dwelling beast, a creature powerful enough to challenge heroes. Today, paleontology provides a compelling explanation for the origin of the Cyclops myth. Not a giant, not a monster, not a supernatural being, but a fossilized elephant skull misunderstood by people trying to explain something they had never seen before. The story of the Cyclops reminds us of something important about human nature. We are natural storytellers. When confronted with the unknown, we search for meaning. We build explanations. We create narratives. And sometimes those narratives become legends that survive for thousands of years. In the end, the Cyclops may never have existed, but the mystery behind its creation is every bit as fascinating as the monster itself. Because sometimes the truth behind a legend is far more remarkable than the legend alone. And sometimes, a monster is simply a fossil waiting to be understood. So, after all this story and explanation, what do you think about it?